What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Third and Longhorn, where we have a special college football playoff quarterfinal preview with Texas going up against Arizona State. Number 3 Texas against number 12 Arizona State by ranking, but number 4 Arizona State against number 5 Texas by the playoff seedings. Texas heads back to Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium to square off against Arizona State. Texas comes in, obviously, after its 38-24 win over Clemson in round 1 at home, and Arizona State comes in after sitting for a while as Big 12 champs after destroying Iowa State 45-19 in the Big 12 championship game. Arizona State's overall record's 11-2 with wins coming over Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas State, Kansas, Utah, Oak State, UCF, Kansas State, BYU, Arizona, and Iowa State, and losses to Texas Tech and Cincinnati. And Texas leads the overall series 1-0 with the last meeting coming in 2007 in the Holiday Bowl, with Texas winning 52-34 in that game. Texas ran the ball 54 times for 300 yards, including Jamal Charles with 27 carries for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. And by the way, Vondrell McGee reeled off a big run in that game. He had like a 30-yard run in that game. I remember that. Texas is favored, I think, currently by 13. It was 13.5. It's fluctuating a little with the over-under of 52.5. So let's get into some of the topics for this one. And this one's just more facts. There's a ton of Texas ties on Arizona State. I've heard everybody talking about it there. They got Xavier Alford starting at safety, Prince Dorba, Troy O'Meara, Jake Smith, Jamon Tapp, Zach Swanson, and former Texas assistant Brian Carrington. I think coaches the DBs, I believe.
DB coach. He's out there doing a good job.
Tons of ties. And there's one tie that I'm going to throw out there that I don't think anybody's figured out yet, but they're who I would consider maybe their second best player who won't be playing in the game. Jordan Tyson has a Texas tie that a lot of people don't know. So his brother Jalen came to Texas and played his first semester in basketball at Texas for Chris Beard, and then left. He was originally committed to Tech, flipped back to Tech, then transferred to Cal, now plays for the Cleveland Cavs, but another little Texas connection there. So Texas ties run deep in this. All right, that's the most I've ever talked. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm joined today by Jeremy Hills to my left, Rob Babers to my left, Derrick Johnson to my right, and Alex Okafor to my right. Let's get into it. Okay, I want to talk about the time off and hear you guys' thoughts on this. A lot of people think it's an advantage to rest for longer, but a lot of people are out there saying they think it's more of an advantage for Texas, who's on a little bit more of a regular cadence. What do you guys think?
I think it's bad for Arizona State to be off this long. They were one of the hottest teams in the country on a 6-game winning streak. Their quarterback was Sam Leavitt, playing at a really high level. Skattebo was playing like one of the best players in the country. I think if you ask Dillingham on the down low, but just between you and him, just amongst men, he'd tell you, I'd rather have played the next week. We were hot and we were rolling. And now with this time off, I do think it's a more of an advantage to Texas. If not, it's an advantage to anyone, but I definitely don't think it's an advantage for Arizona State.
And they do need to start fast. Arizona State needs to start fast, especially with what our offense possess on that side of the ball with Sark and everything he has planned for ASU's defense. But they have to start fast, and usually when you're off, it's just, coaches throughout the week, they always talk about, we got to start fast, guys. We even though we're rested up, got to start fast. And this is a game that if you start slow, you might not be able to catch up.
I'll say this. I agree with both of y'all that the time off is going to be a disservice to ASU. I don't know how much it will affect them just because of their play style. When you talk about, I think it affects teams that function off timing and rhythm more. Like Texas. For Arizona State, offensively, for an offense that goes directly through Skattebo, the fresher he is, the better off they'll be. So I don't know how much it'll affect ASU. So that's just something to look for.
I'll double down on that. I know that to be fact, right? Like Jordan Tyson is out. They say that right now. Jordan Tyson is out as of now. Skattebo has been the man all year. He's the heartbeat of the entire team, and obviously who the offense runs through. And you want your back to have fresh legs. So, like you said, it'll be different if we're talking about like an air raid offense, as time and space and anticipation. Ball got to come out at this time, hit this spot, stay on this track. that offense is a little bit more old school with some wrinkles, right? And you want that kid to have the freshest legs he can have and be ready to go. And I think the rest gave him that opportunity.
But defensively, they got to start fast on the ASU side. For sure. We've been in a rhythm, so it's going to be interesting.
Now that is going to be interesting to see the defense adjust to like that. Obviously, Texas, I believe, is going to bring a game speed that they haven't faced yet.
Yep.
So then that added pressure of we haven't been in game mode. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, all right, I got to get up to game speed, and now I got to adjust to this game speed, right? So I think that'll be interesting to see.
I think speed-wise, they'll be okay, actually. Speed-wise, Big 12 and SEC, it's not that much difference. It's the size.
Yeah, I agree.
The size and up front. They don't even have a 300-pounder on the defensive line.
And we're going to get into that.
We'll cover that on the offensive.
The speed thing, I think the speed thing, they'll be okay, but it's the size. I don't think they can really match up with Texas.
I mean, we see Clemson know what that feels like.
Exactly.
Running inside zone, split zone, power. Running whatever they want.
Whatever they wanted.
I will say Arizona State did, as far as timing and the passing game, they opened it up a lot more in that Big 12 championship. They knew coming out they were going to be gunning it, and Leavitt was moving well, finding the right guys. So I do think they had hit that, like, not perfection point, but they hit their groove in that game, and so they were firing on all cylinders. I do think it's an advantage in that sense of the time. 3.5 weeks is a long time, but I think Leavitt's a gamer, and I think Skattebo's a gamer, so I don't think that affects them as much.
And I like Dillingham as a coach. I think he's a hell of a young coach. So I will say this about the time off. They know, everybody knows, they're at a huge talent disadvantage. That's no secret. Dillingham knows it. Everybody knows it. With that, you have to be able to close that gap with strategy, with tactics, with scheme.
Yeah.
Got 3.5 weeks. Now, if he was, and we don't know, is he a riverboat gambler? Because if I was him in that 2 weeks you had to prepare and you didn't know who you were going to play, either Clemson or Texas, I mean,
you're gonna tip
the scale towards
Texas.
We're gonna prepare for both. I'm prepping to play Texas.
Exactly. So if let's say he took a chance and was like, you know what, Texas is gonna win this game. I'm preparing for Texas for basically a month. That could be something interesting. That could maybe close some of that gap, that talent gap that Texas has that advantage on.
And I'll say this: looking at Arizona State's defense, they're going to have a long day ahead of them, especially with them missing their best player the first half of the season. The defensive MVP of the team, what's his name? Shamari Simmons. He's out the first half.
That's a good player.
Even with him playing, it was still going to be a tough road for them. Now that he's out the first half and y'all talking about they got to start fast, I just don't see it for them defensively, but we'll talk about it.
That hit that he did on Rocco Beck was crazy. That was a crazy hit.
It's old school right there.
The craziest part is, like, I wish the kid wasn't out for the first half. Line him up. Let's play. Like, that's how you play football.
That is true, but I think it's like a freshman behind him, so I'm good on that.
Well, I will say, you guys talk about Dillingham. I think Dillingham has this game exactly where he wants it. The craziest part, I cannot get over this. I had to triple check it. The fact that everyone picked Arizona State to finish dead last.
That is a crazy stat.
Dude, they won 3 games the year before, and to flip like they did and to do what they did and the way they plug players in, I'll say I'm a fan of this team. I watched them. The first time I saw them was when they played Texas State, because obviously it was the biggest game in Texas State's history at the stadium, and so I kind of watched the game and was impressed by him, and I remember that game because obviously Skattebo, you see him, but I was impressed with Leavitt. I think he's the real deal. But Dillingham loves this. Nobody's giving them any chance. Nobody thinks that they're going to do anything. They might be the most underestimated team besides maybe Boise State that's left in the playoffs.
But I want to take a second. I think you just hit, like, nobody believed in them, and you see how fast they flipped that team around. You got to, at least me, I'm a curious mind. I got, like, how? What happened to make them? I got a chance to spend a little bit of time out in Arizona State as I was in Arizona for work over the past week. Brian Carrington.
Yeah.
They got over 40 players that are from Texas now on that roster.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't there before he got there. You know what I mean?
And folks that don't remember him, Carrington was the rainmaker for Texas for years in recruiting. Like, he brought in some big time guys.
You talk about that, and you talk about Xavier and Alfred. Where was he at in his pit stop before he got to Arizona State?
USC?
He was at USC. Who else was at USC? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Carrington's found a way to bring the talent over there, and now he's coaching the talent, and he got them playing at a high level. So
That's a great point.
you want to give him his. All that said, they're going home, but up to this, I mean, listen, a Big 12 championship when you were picked to finish 16 of 16.
Great job.
My goodness,
That's impressive.
Man, that's
Great
impressive.
job.
That's impressive.
And so you've got a matchup of the last 2 Big 12 champions. All right. Now here's my question. This is where I want you guys deep football knowledge, right? Traditional thinking says if you're Arizona State, you put this ball in Skattebo's hands, you pump it to him, keep the ball out of Texas's hands, run the clock, take possessions away. But I also think, like you guys said, Dillingham's kind of a riverboat gambler. He throws a rock in the water, and I really like him as a coach.
I do too.
And so, do you think he tries to flip it and turn it into a track meet and says, everybody's tried this take the air out of the ball with Texas and nobody's succeeded, and nobody's tried to out track meet Texas yet? So do you think there's any credence to that, or you think you just pump it to Skattebo?
You got to go with what brought you there. I mean, ASU, it'd be a shame for them to go off track and do something different.
I just mean lean a little more on even passing to Skattebo.
So they do have to. They have to create something. Don't get me wrong. They can't do exact same thing, but Skattebo's the guy. It is what it is. It's no secret, and it's going to go through him.
And Nick's talking about making it a track meet by going through Skattebo more. That would be cool if it wasn't anticipated, but we know it's going to go through Skattebo.
But I'm saying more through the air to Skattebo.
But we know he's a pass catcher. He has 500 yards receiving, and that's not going to catch us off guard either.
If the game plan, I think at the end of the day, you got now the way you want to go through Skattebo is up to you, the scheme and the coaches. But if you do anything other than go through Skattebo, this could not end well, and then everybody's going to say, "Hey, why didn't you go through?" I mean, like
the first team All-American.
This kid is he's a senior. Man, he's the heartbeat of the team.
Yeah.
Almost 1,600 yards of rushing offense, 19 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, you said another 500 through the air?
Yeah.
He's a leading receiver right now with Joey Tyson out.
My leading rusher and receiver. If you do anything other than get the ball in his hands and tell everybody else to figure out a way to block, then it's going to be a long day.
It is, but I do understand where Nick is coming from, because in big games you do have to break tendency. And in this game, you got arguably the best defense in the country, all teeing off on one human being.
Not arguably.
No,
Ohio State will argue with
the
you.
best defense in the country teeing off on one guy, and you can use him as a decoy, but you can't do it all game long. You're gonna be able to do it early. Texas gonna be salivating thinking about Skattebo getting the ball in a screen, or getting the ball. Your flea flicker might be wide open early in the game, because Texas gonna be running down.
We seen that in the Iowa State game in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah,
Iowa State. Go back and look at the first quarter and a half of that game, almost going into halftime. And it was a
great game.
You didn't know, right? You looked at what Iowa State did. They took their time. They ran so many different personnel groupings out there on offense. And it kind of confused that defense. And they methodically moved their way down the field and ended it in 7. And then you looked at what they did on the opposite end of the field. They kind of had them locked up. If it wasn't for a fourth down kind of crazy over the top,
that was a big call.
And then a bad run of turnovers.
He didn't know where this guy, and then eventually, boom, the levee broke and they opened it up, right? And they proved they're a better team. But I'm looking at that game and I'm like, yeah, man, if you can slow down that guy in the backfield, it's obvious you got a shot here, no matter who you are. Texas State
and Texas Tech kept him under 100.
But I mean, Texas Tech, Texas Tech can play some ball. Texas State, they slowed this kid down, and that game was way closer than you would imagine it being.
That is true, but I will say that just like Texas, they found their identity during this 6-game win streak.
I agree with that.
Especially in the run game.
They're a very different team.
They're very different. I'll just give you a quick stat in terms of zone blocking and gap schemes, right? The power gap schemes. I'll let Jay Hills kind of break that down for you. They usually 59% kind of a power gap. They want to run downhill, power gap running scheme. In the last 6-game win streak, that number's jumped to 67%. In the last 3 games, it's 70%. In the last 2 games, it's 83% power gap schemes, guys. They're running down.
And for the listeners,
they figured out who they are.
And I believe that makes sense to me. Because like, listen, I mean, even when you hear this kid's interviews, right? Skattebo just sounds like gap scheme to me.
He's going down.
No. I mean, like he feels disrespected on national television when they put the mic in his face. He called himself the best back in the country.
I remember that.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the mindset alone is.
He runs like it. He runs like it.
And I guarantee you one thing, man. He ain't looking for a soft place to land. So you're gonna have to. Not only are you gonna have to hit, you're gonna have to wrap up and tackle.
Take a village, man.
Right. Yeah. So and it's gonna be. I believe if Texas can break that wheel, the game's over.
Oh
yeah. And kind of going back to Nick's point about the track meet, does Arizona State want to potentially open it up? One thing we're forgetting about, and say what you want about PFF, but PFF has Arizona State secondary ranked bottom 10.
Yeah. Wow.
So if you want a track meet, Texas can give you a track meet. Do you really want to activate this Texas passing game? Yeah. I don't think Arizona State wants to do this with their back end. So that would be the hesitancy in my eyes.
They don't rush the passer really well. They ain't got no Oaks over there.
Yeah.
All right. They're like 80th in sacks and 101st in tackles for loss. They don't force a lot of negative plays either.
Well, but we've heard it all week too, and I think, and I love this for our defensive backs because especially after that Clemson game, everybody's like, I don't think Texas secondary is that good. I think and it's not actually looking at what happened in the game or how that game played out.
You got to know football to be able to watch that game.
Give Clemson some credit, man. I was about to say,
wait a minute.
Guy's a baller.
Yeah, like we talked about it before we went into that game, guys.
Yeah.
I said you don't accidentally have 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
You don't accidentally have 30 plus touchdowns.
Come on now.
Only 5 picks or 6 picks.
That's not. The boy is a baller.
100%.
And with his team down by 3 scores, he put on a cape.
Yeah.
It's football.
I agree. Well, we got to get to our first commercial break, but when we come back, we will be previewing the Arizona State defense against the Texas offense. This should be fun. See you in a sec. Welcome back to Third and Longhorn, where we are previewing number 3 Texas against number 12 Arizona State in the college football playoff quarterfinal. We are going to get into, I think, a matchup that a lot of people are very excited to see on the Texas side. The Texas offense against the Arizona State defense. Arizona State's defense allows 336 yards a game. That's number 28 in the nation. 21 points a game. That's number 21. And they're allowing 219 passing yards a game. That's number 57. And 117 yards rushing a game. That's number 23. So obviously the passing yards are the question mark in the defensive backs. So Hills, I'm going to kick it over to you, and I'll let you go and get into it.
My goal with my statements is not to create bullet board material.
But he does.
Okay, no, I want to.
Arizona State, this is the part you want to clip.
That's like no disrespect before I disrespect you.
Disclaimer out there, like
clip this part of the video.
An old ball coach of mine, Major Applewhite, used to always say, "Hey man, when we're watching this tape together, and I'm critical, I'm not talking to you, the person. I'm talking to you, the player. All right, and that's how I feel." Next, all right. This is not a good unit.
Thank you. I agree.
The truth is that this is not a good unit. Okay, they've hung on, and they've made enough plays, okay, to be serviceable. But the 11 guys that they roll out there that start together, the 11 guys that they roll out there that take the field when it's at the beginning of the game, they're not good together. Individually, they have some shiny spots.
I feel guilty by association.
I don't like. And what he's saying is factual, but it's rubbing it in right now.
It feels harsh, man. And I always say, don't mistake truth for I'm not here. If it hurts your feelings, doesn't make it less true. Okay, like that's I don't know how else to say that after a Big 12 championship run, y'all are not a good unit. Now y'all had a great day. And I'm very happy for you. I want a hat. This is not a good unit. And the best player that they probably got on that, why not? The best player that they got on that unit he's gonna miss 30 minutes of football. By the time he suits up, it could be over.
Yep.
Okay, this unit there's not a Hail Mary prayer is what this, in a lot of effort, a little bit of luck. In a bad day, they hope Quinn get a cold or something. I don't know. But you're going to need some help to stop Texas' passing game. And up front, I don't believe you have the gumption to stop the run game. if Texas can show up and be who they are, I don't need you to be nobody else. Just be Texas. Yeah. If you show up as you that day, this defensive unit should be in for a very long day. You think Clemson's defense was bad? This unit is not a good unit. This is a middle.
I'm listening to you.
We're gonna be on so many damn clips on the internet
I hate to
right
come
now.
after Jay Hills here because
I'm sorry.
I'm
Statistically, I get what you mean.
He's not wrong.
saying
He's not wrong.
The secondary is okay.
He's just glass half
The
empty.
Russian defense is okay. The red zone defense is not good.
Not good.
They don't force turnovers.
They do
force
turnovers.
turnovers.
That's
one thing they do well.
They are optimistic defense. I give them that.
Yeah.
I give them that much.
Yeah,
15
they're
interception, 5 forced fumbles.
They're 17th in takeaways.
I give them that. I give them that. But when I'm looking at this unit, I'm like, hey, man, like, what? Like, man, call a play and run it.
Yeah.
You ever play Madden? Just call a play and run it.
Run
Like,
it.
what do we? But all right, somebody else weigh in because again, man, I'm not trying to. But I'm like, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, hey, what? Like, what are we talking about here, man? Like,
I totally agree with it. Here's what, because I agree with a lot of what you said. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. All right, so I'm gonna be a little kinder to them. What they hang their hat on is turnovers and takeaways.
Yes.
The reason that this game could flip, if you're just looking at it from an Arizona State standpoint and what you should be kind of hoping for, best case scenario, is that Texas turns the football over. But Texas turns the football over.
Fair.
Texas is 111th in the country, guys, in
Fair.
giveaways.
That's a
Texas gives the football away. We don't realize it, and it's not as debilitating because
I
our
realize
defense.
it. We realize it.
we realize
The
it.
Texas defense is so good, you don't have to pay the price for it ultimately, like you usually
That's
do.
true.
Like usually, this will lead to another couple of losses on your schedule. But for Texas, your defense is so good, it's able to save you a lot of the times.
Absolutely.
But in this game, I will say it could go off the rails. Your third quarter is still terrible. All right, you've been outscored 38-6. 38-6. All right, in the last 5 third quarters.
Yeah.
All right, so that is something that's an issue for Texas, and the turnovers are an issue. So to me, the turnovers could be the big thing. But I agree with you. Their defense is undersized, so they slant and they roll the dice a lot. They gamble a lot.
Yeah, they do.
They're basically trying to shoot gaps and disrupt as much as they can because they know they can get overpowered. And if they end up guessing right, they end up making a lot of plays.
What happens when you guess wrong?
Well,
What happens if you
it could be-
blitz?
it
What
could-
happens?
it-
What
it-
happens?
it-
Number
it-
23.
There's a guy
agree.
that wears number 23 in burnt orange.
Yeah.
Right? And if you guess the wrong gap, like we seen Clemson do on a 73-yard touchdown run, if you guess the wrong gap
I agree.
and he breaks an arm tackle, what happens?
I don't know if they're guessing, but they blitz gaps. And
Fair,
they do a lot
fair.
of gap
Which
exchange.
they have to,
Which
like
they
you
have
said,
to,
because they're undersized.
Yeah, so they're kind of a hybrid defensive front. But just kind of a Big 12 defenses back in the day. I mean, that's what they were. They were kind of hybrid defensive fronts. But they rely on just playmaking ability.
Yeah.
Like they just won't go make plays on the football. But I agree with you. The wide zone, everybody knows when you play Texas, it's one thing you got to stop. Everybody knows it. It's the wide zone. It's the outside zone, right? Clemson couldn't stop it. Texas averaged 10 yards per carry on outside zone. Over 80% of your rush yards came on one running concept. It ain't the play, it's the way. Starks gets to it in different ways. So they know they got to stop that play. How they decide to do it, I don't know. Because they don't really have
I'm just
personnel.
saying, like, if
Georgia's
I
the
get-
only team that has the personnel to stop it right now.
If I get this moving and I get this shift and I get up to the second level with a kick out, and now all of a sudden I got a wide receiver that's just even halfway blocking, and it's space in that guy, what happens?
Touchdown.
No, I'm with you.
Reservation for 6.
Yeah.
Well, so why is it any different here?
My thing was they're going to try to take away the pass because the pass will kill them quicker than the run will.
That's fair.
So I think they'll go with 2 deep, maybe some 3 highs. But ultimately, you got to stop that wide zone, Texas, or they going to cram it down your throat. Ask Clemson, ask A&M, ask Kentucky.
I
Don't
was
ask
just about to
Georgia.
say, ask Kentucky.
Don't ask Georgia. 'Cause
Maybe.
Georgia's like, wait, what? Why zone?
I know we got to move on. I'll say this because I've gotten a lot of Georgia love in my Instagram comments. All right, I'll say this: if you dare say that you just gonna stop it the way Georgia did, I want you to turn around and look at your roster.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
because if you're gonna stop, you better have that.
Yeah.
You better have that over there if you're gonna stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, taking the football away is the only way this Arizona State defense can neutralize us. You look at all 3 levels on their defense, and where can they attack us at? Where can they slow us down at? We already talked about the secondary. Bottom 10.
Yeah.
What do we do? Our passing attack. an elite passing attack. So that's already a disadvantage. What was your crazy stat? They don't have a defensive lineman over 300 pounds? Unreal.
They don't have a defensive lineman with more than 4 sacks.
How big is Cam Williams? How big is Cam Williams? Look at that dude, and then look at that defensive line, and figure out how you're going to stop our rushing attack. We know if we're able to move people up front, it unlocks a piece of this offense that we didn't get against Georgia. So, like Jay Hill says, if you think of slowing us down like Georgia, if you ain't got the personnel, you can't do it. And if you don't have Georgia's personnel, that tells me we're about to get 200 yards on the ground again.
Next question you need to ask yourself is, I'm going to take away Georgia and give you the rest of the field. Who else got Georgia personnel?
No.
So
Maybe Ohio State.
It's not even personnel, it's like defensive line.
I'm just talking about that defense. I'm more so, when I say personnel, I'm literally talking about that D line.
Right.
So in other words, Texas doesn't need to do anything else but be who they are.
Yes.
Right?
And when you say be who you are, that means minimal turnovers and minimal penalties.
Penalties.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's just gonna, Jay Hills, and it was probably the way you said it, but everything you said, it's
factual.
It's like he's telling the truth, man.
My wife says it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I gotta say it differently.
I shouldn't have said I want that. All I'm trying to say is, man, congratulations. You did it.
So this Arizona State team has overcome a lot of adversity, right? They've been overlooked, and they've done a great job. This is a prove it type of game. This is kind of their national championship. This is kind of happy to be here type of thing, because they wasn't supposed to be here. So they're going to give a great effort. But if we just offensively, if we just do what we do simple better. Do simple better. If we can do that, just block and do what we do, man. I'm telling you, Sark's going to have a great plan for him, and we'll fly by. But the turnovers, that's going to neutralize things. That's going to slow things down. That's going to give them new energy that we don't need them to have.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about this is, whatever Sark harped on, or whatever he did during practice leading up to Clemson to eliminate those penalties, we committed 2 penalties for 10 yards.
Incredible.
Whatever he did that week during practice, we've got to mimic that this week.
Yeah.
Like, we can't come out and commit 10 penalties. Like, we can't. That old Texas penalized team cannot show its head.
Texas look focused.
They look focused.
When you look at that game,
right?
Like, now mind you, Clemson had a great opening drive, and that long drag, they had just enough time to get that ball off. They threw it to a great player, and he made a good play, ran it in for a touchdown.
Nice pick, yeah.
In the next drive, what we do? Go answer.
Yeah, instantly.
Right?
Yeah.
Instantly, right? Texas looked great as far as like focus goes,
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
What they say, like focus and finish.
Yep.
Texas finished the right way, and they focused to start the game. So I agree with you, Oak. You give me that, and I'm like,
well, can I have a Jay Hills moment? Can I do? I never do bulletin board material, but there's been a lot of time in between the last game and this game, and I watched a lot of Arizona State's podcasts and their game previews, things like that. This Quinn hate is out of control.
I saw that the other day.
I'm about to lose my mind.
They're
Dude,
talking down on Quinn?
they like I heard
Quinn,
the word serviceable, decent quarterback, and I am like, what? Who did you guys play during this? It's not even
That's
close.
true.
He's
Yeah.
the best quarterback you've played all year.
Yeah.
Like, who's better than him? Do you think, and I don't say this in a bad way, I'm saying this as the better quarterbacks in the Big 12, is Avery Johnson better than Quinn Ewers?
No.
Is Jake Redsloff better than Quinn Ewers?
No.
Like, Cam Rising? Who have you played that's better than Quinn Ewers? So this stuff, you're about to see a big time quarterback.
yeah.
That fired Nick up, boy.
It takes a lot to get me going. But I watched like 4 podcasts, and I love Quinn. I love Arch just as much. I'm not in either camp, but that stuff that pissed me off.
I mean, honestly, you know where it might be coming from, though, Nick? They probably are listening to Longhorn fans.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
that's a
Longhorn
good point.
fans that have been disrespecting Quinn, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Texas has I'm not going to call it an unrealistic expectation.
That's
but-
what it is.
Oh,
It is.
so
We have 4
100%.
national championships and 1 in the last 50 years. It's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So,
Perfection.
I wonder how many Texas fans are also Cowboys fans.
Oh, that's some crossover. man.
Different story.
Sadly,
There's a
in
lot of
that boat.
crossover. Yeah.
Bulls on parade,
A lot of
H-Town.
crossover.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think that what you. when you watch Quinn the way that like dedicated Texas fans do, you get so excited about some of the things you see.
Yeah.
And you just want to see more of them, right? And then when you see other things, you're just like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would that happen?
Well, when you see Michigan and you see the Big 12 championship, you know this kid has that level.
Yeah.
But then you'll see games where he thought, like A&M, where it's not a bad game. It's just he makes some bad mistakes at a critical moment.
It's okay to have high expectation. That's okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
It comes with the position.
The standard is the standard.
But Arizona State, to be
part two.
To be clear, go look at all his tape and tell me you've seen something that good so far.
Yeah.
You just haven't. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the game is played on the field. So we'll see.
And I will say probably the closest thing they've seen to how good Quinn is their own quarterback in practice. I think Leavitt is I would say second best quarterback we played all this year.
He's
the way
playing
he plays,
the position right now.
Correct. I think I'd put him above Carson Beck. And I put Cade as hands down number one we played this year.
Yep.
Hey, by the way,
Can
we pause a moment and I say, I told y'all Cade could ball. I told you.
Who was down in Cade could ball?
Who down in Cade Club?
Yeah, who was down there? Really?
It's a guy that don't got on black right now.
Okay.
Not to dive anybody else.
He wasn't going to get it done. That's all I was saying. He wasn't going to get it done.
And he put the Cade on and he still didn't win.
You gotta remember, DJ's the greatest defensive player to ever come through Texas. His standards a little higher than everybody else's.
DJ was like, that Shamari Simmons hit was a little soft.
DJ started saying stuff like, but is he a Hall of Famer?
It's like, well,
Nothing but
Can be really good. All right, well, we got to get to our next commercial break. But when we come back, we will be previewing the Texas defense against the Arizona State offense, as well as the much anticipated special teams preview and game predictions. We'll see you all in a sec. Welcome back to Third and Longhorn. We are previewing the college football playoff quarterfinal between Texas and Arizona State. Let's get right into the part I know Oak loves to talk about, and DJ too. Actually, and Rod, former defensive players. The Texas defense against the Arizona State offense. The Arizona State offense, number 63 in passing at 224 yards a game, averaging 198 yards rushing a game, number 18 in the nation, and averaging 33 points a game. This offense can get after it. I'm gonna bury the lead here. We talked about Sam Leavitt. He's 192 at 304 yards, 2,663 yards passing, 63% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. He also has 97 carries for 383 yards and 5 touchdowns. The kid's feet are deceptively good. Yep. But let's get into the headliner. Cam Skattebo, 263 carries, 1,568 yards, 19 touchdowns, 37 catches, 506 yards, and 3 touchdowns. First team All-American.
Beast mode.
Who wants it?
I'll go first. Tackle his legs. And I mean, it takes a village, because if you tackle him up high, they talk about his contact balance and his legs. He keeps his legs moving. I've seen him carry guys 3-4 extra yards. Guys, he's got over 1,000 yards after contact.
That's the most insane stat that people throw out.
That's crazy. He's averaging over 4 yards after contact per carry. He's having like 5.9 yards per carry, and 4 of those yards are after contact. You have to grab his legs, and you have to bring him down. You have to hold on for dear life. Yeah. So that would be my first, throwing it out there. I think he's got 92 forceable tackles. You got to tackle that guy, and you got to do it as a village, as a group. But I just think a running game, it's a power running game. I don't know if they're going to change it up versus Texas. You don't want to be going side to side versus Texas in zone concepts. They're just too fast.
That's worse than being physical with them.
Yeah, you got to go downhill on them. And like I said, 83% of their runs the last 2 weeks have been gap power schemes. That's what they want to do. He's not as big as I thought.
And real quick, Rod, explain to the listeners what's the difference between zone schemes and gap schemes. Because we've mentioned that a lot today.
I know.
That's a great point.
Jay Hills, you let me know if I'm off here.
Let me hear it.
All right, so gap and power schemes, you're more blocking a man, and zone schemes, you're more blocking an area. All right, but you give me the definition.
No, that's absolutely like your responsibility, right? Like we always say, everybody has a responsibility on every single play, right? So then the scheme itself calls for what your responsibility is. Like the zone, you're working to an area, and then somebody will appear in this area, and that becomes your work, right? Based off of different front sets, blitzes, who's where in the box, you can have an idea of who your work is going to be, but you're going to work to a spot, and then we'll meet at that spot. As to where the gap schemes themselves, like I have a specific, like I have a job to do. I'm going to wash down and hit him. I'm going to pull over, and I'm expecting once I pull, there's going to be contact made in this gap from this person, right? And that's just the basic difference.
Yeah, and just to simplify it even more for the viewers, if you see a puller, most likely it's a gap scheme.
Absolutely.
As a D lineman, we got to simplify it.
As Jay was explaining, I'm thinking we keep it simple, right? Hey, it's just gap scheme, some kind of pull is coming, and you're washing down and going another way. But to
displace like more numbers advantage, right, on the play side, right, out there running to, and like I said, they pull a lot of guys. I'll ask you guys on the front, what do you do to defend against gap power schemes? What is the schematic counter to it?
What I know, because I'm usually behind these guys, these big guys, but the 3 technique is big time, and the nose guard is big time in there, because when you get a double team, you some kind of down block, you got to hold your ground really good, and we got big guys up front that can be sturdy in there, and just some kind of penetration at some point that would really kill a gap scheme and a zone scheme, actually, when defensive linemen are really sturdy in there. But I mean, from Vernon Broughton to AC, I mean Norton, these guys, we got big guys in there that can hold ground and to get penetration in the back in the backfield. You got anything to say before?
I'll just say as a D lineman, when it comes to gap schemes, the easiest way to neutralize that is you just got to hold up at the point of attack. Usually with a gap scheme, you're going to see some form of a double team on every running down. And on that double team, you got to be able to hold up the point of attack. You either got to split the double team and make the play yourself, or if you have the double team, hold on to that and let a linebacker like DJ scrape over the top clean.
And to stop zone schemes, you got to set the edge, man. If you can set the edge and make sure the ball doesn't get wider, so and then when you can set the edge and build a wall up front with Vernon Broughton and those guys, and AC in the front, and Norton, those guys, and then you got Anthony Hill and Leongo, these guys filling gaps and shooting gaps, man. It's some plays to be made in there. But I want to talk about Skattebo real quick. Skattebo is a little quicker than you want him to be. He's a little faster than you want him to be. He's a guy, I don't want to compare him to Marshawn Lynch. I'm just saying. I
kind of like that a little bit.
When we used to go against Marshawn Lynch, you're like, hey, he's a bruiser. They call him beast mode for a reason. Yeah. And then you get out there, you're like, oh, he can run. Oh, he's stiff on him. He can get around you. He can give you a jump cut. He's patient. It's like Skattebo is like that. Now he's more of a athletic all-star type of guy. Peyton Hillis, I don't know if y'all remember that. Yeah. So what?
No, I'm gonna let you go.
Hold on. Check it out, though.
Rhino.
But what we need to do on the defense side of the ball, these are some reasonable expectations for it. This is 3 of them. Stopping the run, we know this. This is not a secret. We have to stop the run. The good thing I like about stopping the run is we know it's coming. It's different if because Texas, we're going to commit to the run at some point. We don't know when it's coming. We don't know how Sark's going to put that out there. With these guys, with ASU, we know how they're going to run the ball. It's gap scheme. It's inside zone. This is what they do. This is the pedigree of them. Then the second thing is eliminating explosive plays.
Over the top.
Sam Lovett's going to have to be over that. We got to eliminate him being scrappy and making some stuff happen just to it's one thing to get a tackle for a loss, guys, but then you get a 20 or 30-yard play after that, it's all back to even now. Like, we cannot give up big, explosive plays. This is the easiest way to keep them in the game and to keep their energy going. Last thing, we got to take the ball away. We have to take the ball away. When you do that, if we can take the ball away, it's really going to be we're going to give our offense really, really an advantage over their defense, because when you can take the ball away, you give that sudden change, you give that energy to Sark. Sark's going to start dialing them up, and it can get out of hand. But we got to take the ball away. And it's not just going to catch an interception or whatnot. It's going in there being conscious enough to peanut punch that ball out, grab it out, because like you said, Rod, it's going to take 3 and 4 guys to take this guy down. First guy in there, the second guy, you got to rip that ball out, and it's going to take a village, but it can be done. We got the best defense in the land. So
I'm glad
they
we
don't
seen
turn it
Cade.
over.
I'm glad we got a chance to see Cade last week.
Yeah, I was going to make that point.
Because y'all know, I think the world of Cade. I think the kid's phenomenal. This quarterback isn't as good, but it's a similar style.
He's a redshirt freshman, too.
It's a similar style. Like, who knows what he's going to go on to be, but like right now, today, you're going to take the guy at Clemson over the guy at Arizona State, right? But we're facing that style again. This guy can extend the play. He can make some magic happen. He can find somebody open down the field. He can scramble and go get something himself.
Top 10 in scramble yards.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like this kid.
Like this kid can play, but the best part about that is that like we didn't get a bye week. We're in this rhythm of playing, right? And we just seen this. Oh, I'm sorry, we got a bye week. We just seen this in our last game.
That's true.
Right? So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, bro, defense should be okay.
And they had better wide receivers.
Yeah.
Well, and that, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Like this would be, I still think it would be a similar conversation, but it'd be a lot different conversation if Jordan Tyson was playing.
Absolutely.
Losing 75 catches, 1,101 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, that kid's, and if you watch that kid play, he's going to play on Sundays.
Yeah, he's that
For me, the difference to me is this. When you look at the numbers, Arizona State, they've rushed for 2,500 yards on the ground. They've only given up 18 sacks, something like that. If you look at the numbers, you would think they have a dominant unit on the offensive line. That is not the case. When you watch the tape, we should have our way with this offensive line. And I hope we come in with that mentality of whipping the guy in front of us. If we control the line of scrimmage, which we've done week after week, I don't see how this game is close if we play clean. Yeah. Defensively, I don't see where they can attack. Skattebo, I love him. I would say he's probably the best back that we've played. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
And I thought the comparison to Marshawn Lynch was spot on. I thought that was spot on. I really like that. I like Skattebo a lot as a player. There's going to be 11 eyes on him. I do not think he'll be able to single-handedly beat us. Yeah. And if we get to turning this game into a drop-back game where where the O-line and the tackles have to sift back and block our D-line, it's going to get ugly for them. Yeah. And to me, that's going to be the difference. This week at practice, I'm hoping Sark and PK give this defense a good dose of pursuit drill and a good dose of tackling circuit, because that's what it's going to come down to.
Agreed with that. And turnovers. As Nick mentioned, they're top 5, I believe, in giveaways. They only have 8 giveaways on the season. Guys, remember Vanderbilt had 7, I believe. They're the only team that Texas played with fewer giveaways on the season. Texas forced 3 turnovers in that game. 3 of Vanderbilt's 7 turnovers against Texas. Oh, wow. Texas is an opportunistic defense. They're going to have to turn them over to DJ's point. Got to.
And other guys to watch, their top receiver is now Xavier Guillory, who he if you watch the Big 12 championship, he had 2 catches for I think like 30 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that kid can play. He has 19 catches for 320 yards on the year. Shimon Mateer, their tight end, is a good tight end. He's a big guy but can move. And then another guy to watch that doesn't get mentioned a lot, that gets lost because he's behind Cam Skattebo, is Kyson Brown, their backup running back. He does play a lot. He had 68 carries for 340 yards, long at 38 and 2 touchdowns. So they've got weapons on offense. The scariest thing to me is Sam Leavitt and his feet. Yep. Like Skattebo, we know what Skattebo can do. He's gonna do some of that. But Sam Leavitt extending plays, his ability to run, and our ability to spy him as well as get to him, I think that's going to be the key.
He's got NFL pedigree too. I think his brother played in the league.
His brother played in the league.
Dad played for BYU as a linebacker. He's an old soul, man. He can play.
The scariest thing to me is penalties.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Turnovers.
I don't need to look at nothing else. At the end of the game, if I look at penalties, I could tell you how the game is going.
That's fair. Well, let's get to the special teams part. So for kicker, it was actually some hard research because they've gone through 3. They're
terrible.
Their third kicker.
Yeah, they're terrible.
So the guy who it's currently on is Carson Kiefer, who's now 11 of 12 on extra points. And he's 1 for 2 on field goals with a long at 32, and he scored 14 points. Obviously, the edge goes to Bert Auburn. Bert, solid last game, nothing to write home about. He's 60 of 60 on extra points for the year, 15 to 22 on field goals with a long of 49 and 105 points. Their punter stats are very similar. Kenyon Floyd has 37 punts for 40-yard average. Long 56, he has 20. He has 11 inside the 20. Kern sits at 32 punts, 40-yard average, long of 52, and 7 inside the 20. So let's get to the game predictions. Let's go broad first.
Ooh, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna go with Texas 30. Ooh, how about 34 to 20?
How do they only score 34?
And I'm with you, Jay.
Okay.
I'm with you.
That's true. Because of turnovers in the third quarter.
Okay.
You've had a bad third quarter
Okay.
in the last 5 games, and you are 111th in the country in turnovers. You have more turnovers than any team in the tournament. So you get in your own way.
Let me ask you this, Rod.
You don't play perfect games. As usual, they don't play clean games.
You're right, we don't.
Yeah.
But looking at the game last week, we had 1 turnover, and that was a drop. It wasn't even on Quinn.
That's true. That's
do
true.
you think that carries over, or do you think that was an outlier?
Yeah, but that's a good point. But still, your third quarter was off.
Yeah.
You know, didn't you have a turnover on downs too in that game?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think Texas, they never play clean.
No.
They don't play these clean, perfect games. They just don't. And if you score 50, if you do, but do they? When was the last time they did? Against
Yeah.
Florida?
Florida.
Yeah. All right, Hills.
I'm going 41 to 20.
Come on, my guess was 42-20.
We should write
I'm
these
so
down.
close to that. We need to write these down because I'm going to get accused of cheating
Guys, here we
too.
go again. every time I pick a score, it's always
We just
gonna
wait
pick
for
that
Hills
one.
to copy him.
My goodness, man. Be original.
Go ahead, finish. Go ahead, finish.
Oh, your ideas are beautiful too. Be original, man. Copied off my homework.
Look, my whole breakdown led to a 42-20 score.
Oh my gosh. You really copied my breakdown, but I'm gonna let that ride. Okay. No, I think when I look at this, I think Texas gets out. I think Texas gets out. I think Texas gets out. And then, you know, to Rod's point, we don't play play as clean as we should. And there will be opportunities for them to put up points. I think they've struggled in the kicking game as I think that make them go for it more times than they really want to. Mm-hmm. And I trust our defense. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I see us with a comfortable three score win coming out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, my score, I said it already, 42-20. That is under the contingency that we are not having 2 to 3 turnovers this game, and the penalties aren't off the charts. Like we know, that happens, everything goes off the rails. So assuming we play a semi-clean game, I got 42-20. I don't see how their defense slows down our offense. I think our offense has the opportunity to go down and get points on almost every single drive. So that's true. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I'm with Oak. It's going to be hard to keep up with what we possess on the offense side of the ball, and defensively, we don't give up much. Something's going to have to break. I mean, Skattebo's great, but we're pretty good too. So I would say 38. I'm not going to quite give us 40. 38 to 17.
That's fair.
Like that.
I mean, look at it. The best quarterback by far the best quarterback we played, he mustered out 24.
He put up 24.
You know what I mean?
He was dealing out there.
And dealing. The third quarter. Dealing. And that's by far the best quarterback that we've played, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else.
And one of the best wide receiving cores we play.
Other than that,
I would say
the only
best.
other time we've given up more than that was the atrocious game that we rolled out against Georgia the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I look at anybody, I don't like, why would I pick this squad to exceed that?
Yeah.
And just,
That's a good point.
I'm going 44-23. So I
feel like he took my homework.
No.
It's like, change a couple of answers.
Now we're gonna have for next season. We're gonna have to submit a piece of paper beforehand.
We should text it in first.
Yeah.
Everybody text in their scores. Like,
Individually,
Yeah, at the same time.
But actually, no. Then I'll get accused of taking everybody's
That's
average.
true, yeah, you're right. We gotta write it
We'll have
down.
Higgs do it.
gotta write it down.
Yeah.
2 points and 3 points.
We'll see. But I agree with you, Oak. It's about limiting the turnovers. It's about keeping the penalties down. If that happens, I think look, the athletes and the physical nature of our team is just going to be too much for them. And mind you, I have a lot of respect for Arizona State. This isn't a knock on them. I love Dillingham. I love this team. I just think that I think it's going to be too much for them.
I'll say this. Rod makes a really interesting point. I do want to see about these turnovers and penalties. Like, is this really who we are?
Yeah.
This game will say it for us. Like, if we come out and commit a ton of turnovers and a ton of penalties, then this really is what Texas is. But I think we turned that corner last week, and I'm hoping to see the same thing this week.
Well, we have to change that going down the road because we play. Let's get past this game, but I'm just thinking in the future. You
Trying to win
don't
it
shoot
all?
that. You got to.
100%.
Like, let's be. Texas needs to focus on Arizona State.
Yeah.
As I begin to peek ahead, it's nothing but dogs left.
The dogs, man.
It's nothing but dogs left.
Get your mind right. Get your
Well,
mind
it's all pick'em games after this.
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty
it
much.
really is.
Yep, I agree with that.
So, all right. Well, I think that's all I have. You guys got anything else to add before we take this thing on?
Man, these kids have played their butts off. Winning the Big 12 championship is amazing and huge. I hope all of them go on to have 10, 15-year NFL careers. All I'm saying is this year together has not been a great year.
We back
Dude, they got picked last in the conference and finished first. That is a great year.
Let me be clear. I'm talking specifically to the defense.
Oh my God! Picking on the defense ain't the worst.
I want to be clear.
On this defense ain't the worst.
Bro.
Do I need to edit this? Like, am I gonna have to censor our first podcast?
No.
We're gonna get a call from Sark.
I apologize. This is one man's opinion.
That is true.
Washed up old athlete. You ain't got to pay me no mind. All I'm saying is you ain't play that great.
All right. On that note, hey guys, if you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe. We do want your score predictions.
Yeah.
You guys can copy Hills too, like we all do. So, or you can be original and do that. We will be doing a post game show after the game on New Year's to whoever I can drag out of the house for a post game. We'll see about that after this. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all after the game. Hook 'em.